Welcome back to Project Lowball, my challenge series where I play through the vanilla Pokemon games with one goal: beat every major fight with the lowest levels possible. Today's installment will be focused on HeartGold and SoulSilver, which contains 22 major fights across two regions, Johto and Kanto. With updated battles, new evolutions, and some of the strongest trainers ever seen ahead of me, this will be the toughest challenge yet. Alongside the rules you see on your screen, I've elected to ignore the Pokewalker for this challenge, as with limited documentation and lack of emulation support, it's near impossible to correctly account for. Also, I lost mine on the playground 12 years ago, and I'm not coughing up $100 to test it myself. Without further ado, our journey starts just outside Violet City. The ruins of Alph hold many secrets, and is home to one of the weakest Pokemon of all time, Unknown. With base 50 stats and only one move, being Hidden Power, this Pokemon is near useless. Or so I thought. For those unfamiliar, Hidden Power changes its typing depending on your IVs, giving you access to coverage of any type at a respectable 70 base power. No wonder Hidden Power was one of the strongest moves in competitive singles history. And no wonder it's a game changer for a challenge like this. The strategy is simple. Have the ideal IVs for Hidden Power Ice, and spam the A button until I win. Obviously, Pidgey's Sand Attacks and Falkner's Potions can slow you down, but starting at level 7, you get just enough XP to withstand Pidgeotto's Tackles and Roosts. Before we move on to grading the setup, I want to talk about Mareep really quick. As most of you know, you can catch level 6 Mareeps on the way to the aforementioned Ruins of Alph. While they don't learn an electric move until level 9, they come with the ability Static, giving you a 30% chance to paralyze your enemy upon contact. With really good luck, it's possible to paralyze your way to victory, but as I alluded to in my last video, I have a consistency benchmark for 3% success at the minimum, at least for it to make it into a video. With these factors, I'm giving Unknown set a confirmed, as level 6 Unknown does fine against Pidgey, but gets blown away by Pidgeotto. With 1 badge down and 15 to go, we move on to the androgynous fashion icon, Bugsy. While the Scyther lead doesn't seem so menacing, especially when you see me 2-hit KO with Rock Tomb, what you're seeing wasn't the intended outcome. Now, getting a clean 2-hit like that is about a 15% chance. We are meant to use our defensive investments to tank Scyther's insanely strong U-turn, to then use Defense Curl twice on Metapod, preparing us for Scyther's inevitable return. Of course, the 2-hit KO is easier, but this setup can still succeed without it. This is a confirmed setup, as at level 8, the Scyther will always go for U-turn, seeing a potential kill, and regardless, you get chipped down by Metapod into an impossible position. On the way to Goldenrod, you unlock a few key components for this challenge: Pickup and the Pokemon Daycare. While not identical to Emerald, the HeartGold and SoulSilver pickup table is just as lucrative, containing TMs, rare candies, and the oh-so-coveted leftovers. The Daycare lets us access breeding, which in Generation 4 has eggs hatch at level 1, giving us much more room to EV train low-level Pokemon, and of course, have access to level 1 setups. Once we actually get to Goldenrod, we obtain vitamins and the Macho Brace from the department store, giving us up to 100 EVs in any stat, and double EV yield from the brace. So I don't want to see comments asking how these EV setups are possible. I did the math, and I did it by hand. Now, Rage aside, this all culminates into our Dratini, Baby Rage, who abuses Dragon Rage and a tailored EV spread to make short work of Whitney's normal types. With exactly 28 speed EVs, after 3 agilities and 1 level up, we speed creep Miltank. That means we only have to tank 1 Stomp, which we of course have just enough defensive investments for. This entire setup is confirmed, and also really consistent. As long as Clefairy doesn't get a hilariously unfortunate metronome roll, we're good to go. Wipe those tears, Whitney, it really can't get any worse. At a glance, Morty is a terribly annoying fight. But for this challenge, Morty is hilariously easy. Here's the recipe. I want you to pick a normal type. The only condition is it needs to learn Substitute. You're going to set up Substitute on turn 1, and then you win. Okay, of course there's a bit more that goes into it. Let's break it down. I use Swagger to speed up the fight, letting each ghost whack itself to death, giving us our first true pacifist gym badge. But how does this work exactly? The lead Haunter will pick a random move, like Mean Look, as you of course can't hit by a ghost type move. So in Generation 4, Curse does not go through Substitute. This is specific to Gen 4, and this lets you freely hide behind said Substitute, as Morty's team has no coverage outside of Dream Eater. Since I can't be put to sleep behind a Substitute, I simply have to win the waiting game. I bring a Lepa Berry for II just in case, but 3 Swaggers for each Pokemon is usually enough. Just simply don't get Cursed turn 1, and you have a confirmed setup. Wow, a level 1 setup. Isn't that novel and impressive? How about a second? Meet Chuck, who's confident enough to only need 2 Pokemon to defend his badge. So in response, I naturally brought a level 1 Rattata. Now, this isn't just any Rattata. This Rattata is in the bottom 0.1% of Rattatas, sporting 0 HP IVs. Now, it's also pre-damaged to exactly 1 HP, which guarantees that Endeavor will still be useful even after all the level ups we'll get. Now, this setup will only work thanks to the AI prioritizing Focus Punch after Focus Punch after Focus Punch, so we break their focus with Endeavor, as it does make contact and then bring them all the way down to 1 HP. We can then follow up with a Quick Attack, or as you'll see later, Frustration. And funny enough, that Frustration crit you saw should have killed, but I screwed up my friendship stat. But oh well, never punished. Originally in my script, I wrote that I would retire if I was a gym leader and lost to Fear, but it's not really even Fear, it's just Ear. Anyways, this is obviously confirmed. When you mention Lake of Rage, the first thing that would pop in your head is that free, shiny, level 40 Gyarados. Of course it is, but something even more powerful lies beyond the water. The choice specs. Granting a Pokemon 1.5 times special attack, this item packs a lot of power, even if you're locked into that one specific move. Now, enter Cyndaquil, who is pre-damaged to have Blaze active, adding another 1.5 times boost. Combine this with max special attack and just enough speed, you have an absolute Steel-type Melter at only level 13. There is some RNG required, of course. You need to land those Fire Blasts, but Steelix only dies to a crit. And how we get around that is, ironically enough, being a low-level Cyndaquil. Both of Steelix's damaging moves, Rock Throw and Iron Tail, are inaccurate. Rock Throw has a 10% chance to miss, and Iron Tail has a 25% chance. Since both moves send my Cyndaquil flying to the stratosphere, the AI just picks one at random. This gives us a 50% chance to get the more inaccurate move, giving us better chances altogether. Now, to save you busting out a calculator and your high school probability homework, getting 4 Fire Blast hits and a Steelix move miss is overall a 9% success rate, which isn't that bad. Now, at the crit sequence, it bumps up to 12%. Good enough for me. Confirmed. We move on to Pryce, who is, well, bad at his job. So bad, in fact, speedrunners challenge him in advance. To get through this team, we have used the setup GOAT, Clefable. Featuring Amnesia, Minimize, and the Charge Beam TM, we take full advantage of this weak lead, Seal. Thanks to our ability Magic Guard, we completely ignore hail damage, while Seal, funny enough, wastes turns resting off the damage due to its lack of ice typing. While I felt smug and smart for outmaneuvering Pryce's horrible synergies, I learned the hard way that Minimize only gives you 1 evasion boost before Gen 6, while my showdown playing ass thought it was always 2 evasion stages. Anyways, after fully setting up special defense to tank Seal's constant snoring, and the evasions to dodge the scarier moves, with then charge beams to get my special attack maxed out, we use our final slot, Grass Knot, to make short work of Pryce's miserable team. with level 10 scraping the bottom of the barrel and lower levels having less XP to work with for those priceless EVs, this is confirmed. Unless my 3 AM math was wrong, and I'm sure the comments will tell me. We move on to the 8th gym badge, Clair. Clair was my first road bump in this challenge, and I was completely stuck for 2 days, maybe even 3, until I looked back at my SoulSilver Nuzlocke I did a long time ago, and I was reunited with Skarmory. With access to Agility, Swords Dance, and Roost, Skarmory becomes an absolute MVP for this challenge. The crack in Clair's team is ironically Dragon Rage, which being Gyarados' strongest move against Skarmory gives me a perfect setup opportunity, never having to risk a crit or any nasty secondary effects. Our only RNG check is dodging the Hydro Pump from Kingdra, but we just get a crit to save us the hassle. Nice and easy. This setup is theoretically possible at level 20 or even 19 by roosting the Dragon Rage damage every turn, but then I struggled with chip damage, missing ranges, or just general bad luck. So feel free to try this at home and see if you can beat this and send me the footage, but for now I'm leaving this as confident. Before we start the Elite Four, it's time for... Who's that Pokemon? Here's your hint. This Pokemon was used previously in the video. Now a cut to commercial.
I play Pokemon HeartGold version.
I play Pokemon SoulSilver version.
I collect Pokemon, trade them, and engage in heated battle.
Did you know that?
Grass and rock. This must be Torterra. They need someone to refactor this shit from the ground up. It is a rock with a tree on top of it. How could this not be grass rock? Psychic Fairy. Cleffa.
Off the rip, I haven't tried Wendy's 50 chicken nugget bucket. I think I said I wanted 50 likes on Twitter, but I don't think that's gonna happen. Do you want 50 likes? Yeah, I do, actually. Oh my god. Actually not finishing this. Yeah, no, they're soggy. I can't wait for the non-verbal stage of the challenge. I do not think we're gonna get to that one. Oh, I can't do it. Oof. How did chat predict this?
Crit wouldn't have killed me, so that's fine. Yeah, it's Deathless Watson. That was even easier than last time. You're about Lilik. What did he do? What? I thought, what happened to I sweep with Snorlax? Oh my god. I don't even want to open YouTube right now. 20 HP Snorlax? I told this guy to heal out of crit range. I told him to heal out of crit range! Flamethrower is a higher base power. It might kill him. There you go. That runs over. Run's dead. He's gonna wipe. No, just hit him. He's dead, bro. Just hit him.
No, I rested.
What are you doing?
It's not even...
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Skarmory. Yay! That's right. For the entire Elite Four, we will be using different variations of Skarmory to get through the Indigo League, all taking full advantage of Skarmory's stats, typing, and setup ability. Don't worry, I didn't believe it either once I realized Skarmory was the best option for all 4 fights, and you'll see shortly why. Here we go. Good dark types are hard to come by here in Johto, even though they debuted in this region, but a Psychic Resistance and a dark type move is good enough for the first Elite Four. Will. Our only obstacle is Xatu and its Confuse Ray, which can of course quickly turn our setup against us. Thankfully, AI abuse comes up yet again via Me First. Me First is an interesting move that copies an incoming damaging move, boosts it by 50%, and throws it right back at you. Sounds scary, but the move fizzles if you're faster or selected a non-damaging move, like Swords Dance or Agility. Here you see Xatu desperately try to cheese me with it, which gives me plenty of free turns to set up and avoid confusion altogether. It's a massive relief as you do need to stay healthy before Xatu drops. Once you successfully set up, you can face a minor hiccup in Jinx, as she will occasionally lovely kiss you if you don't land the damage roll. This is still livable, but it is something to watch out for. Your final challenge will be Executor. It's important to be patient when facing him, as he will set up Reflect and wear down you with some Egg Bombs. You need to let the Reflect wear off before taking him out, as Slowbro behind a Reflect is a bit of a nightmare. Overall, this is surprisingly the least consistent setup of all the Elite Four, but far from RNG dependent. Confirmed. Next we fight Koga, who has seemingly tried to form the most annoying team of all time, with Evasion Spam, an Explosion Mon, and Toxic Spikes, just for the fun of it. Thankfully, Skarmory ignores all of these problems, with Roost Healing and Aerial Ace just slicing through Double Team and Minimize. The biggest obstacle in this setup is not walking into Explosion. The AI is inconsistent and I haven't seen the code, but sitting in the yellow tends to be the boom button for Koga. The rest of the fight is very simple. You're either gonna hit or you're gonna heal, with only Venomoth being the real threat, which you easily one-tap after all you're setting up. I couldn't get this fight any lower, as you don't have enough damage or you simply get outsped. Confirmed. Bruno is a much more obvious Skarmory candidate, with entirely physical threats and basically zero coverage. We will take full advantage of Hitmontop's weak moves and its affinity for spamming counter to set up our usual order. Swords Dance with a side of agility. Once we max out, our short, sweet begins. Everything is a clean one-hit KO with enough speed and power to not even give Bruno a chance to react. This is the lowest level we can go, as matchup has to be one-hit KO, and we can't rely on evasion strats due to its ability No Guard, which of course means it will always land a move and will always be hit by a move. This is confirmed. While I would love to take Karen down with yet another level 19 Skarmory, I had to settle for 24. Again, because there are so few good dark types available, Karen is forced to employ a very speedy Gengar and a very out-of-place Vileplume. Maybe the Plume is just a favorite, but anyways, this setup is done at level 24 for a few reasons. One, we can now speed creep Houndoom, and also have much more base power to handle the very annoying Umbreon. I did try to use evasion strats in the lower level originally, but the feint attack chip from Umbreon became way too much to handle, let alone every other threat on the team. So until further notice, this setup is confirmed, and is our fourth and final Skarmory setup. We then get to sit through the worst quote in mainline Pokemon, and finally get to move on to the real challenge, Lance. Unfortunately, I can't use Skarmory for this fight. As much as I would love to keep the bit going, there's too much risk of electrocution or being melted down for scrap. But as always, we take full advantage of that lead Pokemon to find a winning setup. Enter Lapras, equipped with Dragon Dance, Rest, Waterfall, and one of the two physical Ice-type moves Lapras has, Ice Shard. Now, I know that seems counterintuitive because I have Dragon Dance for my speed. Believe me, it's better than the negative priority in Avalanche. With enough base bulk to withstand Gyarados' stab moves, we only have to worry about a relatively weak Dragon Pulse and a very weak Flail. Our goal here is to be patient. There's no need to rush, as we need to completely stall out the Flails. It's an insane risk for zero reward to try and fight through them. Once Gyarados is forced to just Ice Fang or Waterfall, we can then shard him down and the dominoes begin to fall. One Waterfall washes away Charizard, and Ice Shards rip through Dragonair and the Dragonites. Thanks to all the free level ups along the way, we ultimately see no meaningful ranges or rolls, and could safely KO every Mon on Lance's roster. Which, when you look at Lance's roster, wouldn't it make him a flying type champion? Anyways, rambling aside, We've taken down the mighty Lance, and we are now Johto's new champion, using only 4 Skarmories and 1 Lapras, and at no point never going above level 25 the whole way. How's that for a Hall of Fame screenshot? But of course, there's still much more Pokemon to be played. While as most of you who have played through HeartGold and SoulSilver know, Kanto is completely open-ended. You are able to collect the first 7 badges in virtually any order. But for clarity and consistency, I'm going to show all these fights in their traditional order. Starting of course with Brock. One of the biggest challenges in Project Lowball is dealing with fast Pokemon. Thankfully, Brock has the slowest Pokemon in all of Kanto, and I get to abuse that to the fullest extent. With the initial postgame completed, the Life Orb becomes available, which is not only a staple in competitive Pokemon, but a staple in the back half of this challenge. For those not familiar, the Life Orb boosts a move power by 30%, but you take 10% of your HP as recoil damage. This effectively works as free damage when you can guarantee being faster. In comes Victory Bell, with great move options, base stats, and can double its speed via the ability Chlorophyll. While naturally we just outspeed Graveler and Rhyhorn and take them down with some energy balls, Onix gives us the same problem as Jasmine's Steelix. I initially use Protect to scout out the move, and I now hope for either a follow-up Iron Tail miss or Sandstorm, and I get the Iron Tail miss I need. I can then safely set up Sunlight, boosting my speed. I can then obliterate Brox's Onix and remaining fossils with straight Solar Beams. This leads us to a very easy confirmed, as at lower levels I'm either missing damage or missing speed. For Misty, we're bringing back a fan favorite from our Pokemon Platinum episode, the Snorlax named Lexington. Of course, being as large as my cat Lexington, Snorlax has amazing natural bulk and lets it shrug off most special attackers, even at half the level. While at a glance, a set of Amnesia, Curse, Seed Bomb, and Rest is very simple to execute, Golduck's Psych Up is turning my old strategies against me. Thankfully, the AI is very eager to psych up any stat boosts, so we can simply spam Amnesia until Golduck has completely run out. We then proceed to finish our setting up, weaving in rests when necessary. Of course, setups like these beg to get hit by a critical hit, and hence the level we choose. While theoretically, and I tested this for hours, level 19 is possible, it does require us to dodge any and all crits after Golduck runs out of Psych-Ups, which is about a 1 in 100 outcome, if we're on the good side of luck. Telling you all this, it should be no surprise this setup is confident, and I don't have the energy in me to test this setup for another 2 or 3 hours to get that fabled 0.5% outcome. And here we are at Lieutenant Surge, and as you can guess, it's another electric gym with 0 coverage. Just like Falkner and Watson, this setup explains itself. Ground type plus setup equals a free badge. While the aforementioned electric leaders focused on raw power or speed, Surge focuses on being annoying. Surge's Pokemon love spamming Double Team, and I really can't blame them, they don't have any other option. Bad RNG is truly your only enemy, as you only have 16 Earthquakes to work with, all with constantly fluctuating accuracy. If you're down to under 10 and Raichu is still in front of you, it's best to just reset. Both of my successful attempts, I ended with either 1 or even 0 earthquakes left to use. Regardless, the setup is confirmed, as once you go to level 17 or lower, Raichu starts seeing a kill with Slam, giving you no room to set up. With most gyms, we use brute force to get through them. But this time, we use absolute finesse and turn the AI against itself. Erika's jump bluff desperately wants to use all of its annoying utility moves, especially Leech Seed. Because of this, one simple substitute gives this level 18 Scyther as many turns as it wants. Why? Well, the AI doesn't seem to understand when their moves connect. So, one substitute means 16 Leech Seeds? I don't really get it, but I'm not complaining. And that's the setup. I boost my stats to the moon, and I win. I don't really know what else to say here. Subscribe? Similar to Will, Sabrina was initially a theory crafting nightmare, with, again, no dark type options. But thankfully, I found an out. Since we're now the champion of Johto, we have access to a variety of those tutor moves I mentioned earlier. One being the sleeper hit, Psych Up, which you guys saw a bit of in my last video. Since Espeon is incentivized to Calm Mind to work up to a Shadow Ball KO, I take full advantage of Swagger's attack raises and Calm Mind special defense boosts and copy them for myself. Of course, make sure your health bar is in the green before moving on to Alakazam. One quick note, learning Quick Attack is actually intentional here, which you'll see why really shortly. From my testing, Alakazam is always going to set up Reflect, so punish him with a quick Swagger and start to chip him down. Once Sabrina's ace drops, the badge is basically guaranteed, with the correct move order. Mr. Mime will now go for Screens and Mimic, so you want it to steal Wish from you. You can then safely spam Swagger to chip it down, or completely PP stall it if necessary. Quick Attack, of course, is a nice backup in case things go a little bit awry. And there you go, another amazing Psych Up strat for the books. Confirmed. Our Rolling Ron here does more than just roll. He's a hateful little creature, fueled by spite and rage. You see, Janine takes after her father, and has also built an extremely annoying team. Crobat relies on a mix of confusion and defense lowering, and since we almost always rely on setup for this challenge, we need to play Janine's game, but better. Ron here has to balance between stacking up attack and defense, while also getting enough evasion to start dodging those supersonics and screeches reliably. Once you have a few curses set up, Crobat will just stop wing attacking, it doesn't see much point. Then you're either going to keep setting up evasion, or start to use Spite. Spite is another fun move that's unlocked by tutors, and for those who've never seen it, using it reduces the power points of your opponent's last used move, letting you stall out, in a way, annoying moves. You want to spite away all of Crobat's moves until he's forced to wing attack you. This lets you prevent fighting through confusion RNG, as with enough attack raises, you will just KO yourself. While it all sounds complicated, it's actually a really intuitive setup, but can be tricky to balance early. There's chances where the setup all goes to waste, either with unfortunate misses or unfortunate self-hits, both of which happened to me, but overall, it's very unlikely. This setup was the best one I could find, and also the most fun and interesting, so I feel a strong confirmed is due for our little Aron. I don't think it takes a genius to figure out that a water type is the best solution for Blaine's fire type trio, but it did take this genius almost 2 hours of spamming resets before tweaking the set to what you see before you. Belly-drum plus Aqua Jet, that's nothing new, but we spiced it up with some AI abuse to make it a true lowball recipe. The plan is simple. We're going to dodge overheat, and we're not going to get burned by Magmar. This Rapidash only sees a KO with Bounce, which is a free win thanks to Protect. Now, ignore me missing Waterfall KO over and over, I was very tired. There's theoretically a level 20 or even a level 19 setup with Life Orb, but it relies on so much RNG, it's basically impossible. I have 3 hours of footage if you're curious, but I encourage you to try it yourself to see how much pain I went through. For now, we're gonna stick with Confident, as there might be another setup out there that I'm not seeing. On the last, final badge, the version differences finally come into play. In HeartGold and SoulSilver, a mini quest unlocks the ability to catch one of the Eon twins, Latios or Latias. In HeartGold, you get Latias, and in SoulSilver, Latios. Since Latios is more offensively oriented, it's ideal for this gym setup. Latias is still completely viable, and you can use basically the same setup, but you would likely need an extra level. While on paper, Executor seems like an RNG nightmare, you'd actually be really unlucky if you flat out die to it. You're gonna need exactly 6 turns to set up. But now you add extra turns from sleep and waiting out Trick Room, leftovers will mostly invalidate the damage coming your way. Once Trick Room is down, it's simply a matter of clicking the highest damage move on each of Blue's Pokemon. Pidgeot can be a little scary, as if you're a victim of really bad rolls or a straight crit from Pidgeot, you will be forced to reset. But as I mentioned earlier, you'd be quite unlucky for that to happen. The footage you're watching right now, for example, was my very first try. Of course, level 35 is a huge jump from the low 20s we've been used to throughout both leagues. I am extremely happy to have found this, and this is confirmed as Blue is so tough to crack in this challenge. Between type diversity and moves, it's just so much. But we're not done yet. Originally, I planned to keep this entire portion silent, considering our opponent, but I felt it would render a massive injustice to the setup. A lot of theory crafting and careful consideration went into this fight, and I even had to bend my own guidelines just to make it happen. And when I tell you it paid off, believe me, it was all worth it in the end. Meet Solstein, the Mamoswine. Hardened by a frozen life deep in the ice path, the hail on top of Mount Silver is not our enemy, but our most important ally. His Snow Cloak ability gives us a well-needed 20% evasion boost throughout the entire fight. Pair that with Bright Powder, this Mamoswine blends in too well on this lonely mountain. If I calculated it correctly, Pikachu's Iron Tail has been reduced to a coin flip, an exact 50% accuracy. What you see in front of you is a series of coin flips, all landing on heads instead of tails, with miss after miss after miss, giving us ample time to set up. Once you've cursed 4 or 5 times, you will be able to tank one Iron Tail safely. It's not a complete loss if you do get hit, but rest being 2 turns, it is likely you'll die. It's just good to know. But that's the easy part. Pikachu, of course, isn't known for its bulk. It goes down fast from an Ice Shard. Up next is Blastoise, who will always go for Focus Blast. Now, I can't explain why it goes for Focus Blast, but I'll gladly take the 45% accuracy Focus Miss rather than the much more accurate Hydro Cannon. At level 56 with max attack, Superpower nearly KOs Blastoise, but thankfully, our friend Hail finishes off the job. Now, while I can't directly influence RNG in any meaningful way mid-battle in Gen 4, I can use save states to see potential outcomes, which is invaluable when relying on moves missing. If you're to go in blind, risking a hit from Lapras is far too scary. Thankfully, this run gave me a double miss, giving me just a brief window where I can undo my superpower stat drops and then cleanly take down Lapras. We're officially halfway there. It's now Charizard's turn. Thanks to all our boosts, Charizard will only go for Air Slash, which we can comfortably live, but yeah, I'll take another miss. We also get a guaranteed 2-hit KO with Ice Shards, minimizing the overall risk. With the water types out of the way, and the usual run-ending Charizard down, and at full health, it's time for us to clean up. We'll see a brief flash of RNG, with Ice Shard barely missing the KO range, and that very scary Sleep Powder almost putting us in serious danger, but we shrug it off, and with my heart rate going back down to normal, Snorlax comes out. And seeing Snorlax means we've won. None of Snorlax's moves pose any threat, And even if they crit, the superpower will always take down Snorlax, showing the world that even the champion of Kanto, Red, will succumb to the low ball. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. If you liked it, hit all the engagement buttons so the algorithm takes mercy on me. Other than that, I'd like to give a huge shout out to the people in my Discord, especially Sealy and Neobones, for giving me a jumpstart on the HeartGold SoulSilver lowball project. Discord is starting to pick up, so if you want to participate in lowball activities or future events, do join. The link is in the description. I'd also like to thank my members, Accolade, Alex, Crunchy Tears, Dragon Maw, Funny iPod Tips and Tricks, Mudskip, and Pogger Dog. If you'd like to become a member, you can join through the description link below. I will be posting some members-only content very soon. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.